Hello and welcome to your July 31st daily briefing. I hope everyone is doing well on this Friday. I'm here, I'm ready to do some updates. But first, let me tell you a little story about my last 24 hours real quick, and then I'll go on to the news. So I live in Arizona, and this is the dead of the summer, obviously. Well, yesterday, my house's air conditioner went out, and no one was able to come fix it, and won't be until later on today. So the coolest my house got last night while everyone was trying to sleep was 92 degrees inside. So if I'm a little bit tired today, if I sound a little bit tired, that's why. There was just a little bit of chaos going on last night. Anyways, on to the news. So this is one of the more frustrating updates that I've made so far and hopefully will make. This is why the black on black is appropriate here for this update. I got to my office this morning after a night of sweating all night, hopeful that we would see some kind of resolution for unemployment and just some kind of news, something good to hear about unemployment. Is it going to be extended just to get an answer? I even made a prediction yesterday that we'll probably see some kind of last-minute resolution or temporary solution for unemployment today, but that just doesn't appear to be happening. I've been pretty dead on with my predictions in the past, but this time I think I let my positive, everything will work out kind of mentality get the best of me, and I just wasn't really looking at the facts when I made that prediction. In hindsight, it was pretty obvious that no deal was going to be reached. I mean, even the White House Chief of Staff said there was just not going to be an agreement in time. He just said there's no way we're going to reach a deal when both the parties are just so far apart on this issue. And I should have just read that and thought, yeah, that guy probably knows a little bit more than me. But I was thinking positively. I wanted to think positively, and I was wrong. So I want to admit when I make the right calls and the wrong calls. So let's get into the news and what we can at least expect to happen next and where we're at right now. President Trump held a press conference yesterday, so allow me to summarize the points in the comments that he made so you don't have to sit and watch the 38-minute press conference. And I'm just going to talk about his points on the stimulus package, which was probably about 2/3 of this press conference. So first, President Trump praised Republicans for fighting for unemployment and fighting to get some kind of solution. I'm just reporting what he says. It might sound a little bit biased towards Republicans because obviously he's in the Republican Party. So this is just an overview of what he said. He said unemployment is, quote, good for our country, great for our workers, and it wasn't our workers' fault. So it's really important that we do something to help them out, which that's hard to argue with. And this is really the point that he talked most about, just the necessity to get some kind of resolution for unemployment. And his next major point was to figure out assistance for renters. He said that could be done either by offering rental assistance or extending the rent moratoriums. The rent assistance side is pretty interesting because we haven't really heard much in the way of a fund for renters since way back a few months ago when the cancellation of rent and mortgage payments proposal was put on the table. That proposal never really picked up any steam because it was kind of overcomplicated. There was a lot of issues with that proposal. So this could just be something that was discussed internally or within negotiations within the last week, but isn't exactly in a bill. But it's interesting that they're still floating the idea of some kind of rental assistance around. And then we have the rent moratoriums, which is probably the more likely option that they would go with if they're looking for some kind of assistance. There are local rent moratoriums in most areas right now. So the federal one, it's been brought up a lot, but it's not as big of an issue because smaller governments can enact these local moratoriums as well, but we'll probably see that once a bill actually is enacted. There'll be some kind of rental assistance. The next topic President Trump talked about was good old stimulus checks, the relief payments. He didn't spend a whole lot of time on this topic, but he basically said, we got to do it. It's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be bigger than ever. No, I'm just kidding about the second part. That's just kind of how he talks. But he did voice his support for a second stimulus check, and he's done it before like 5 times publicly. I'll take it. I'll report on it when he does. I'll take any good news that I can find at this point, to be completely honest. So he just basically voiced his opinion again that he's all for stimulus checks. He wants to see that on the next bill. And really, at this point, it doesn't seem like stimulus checks are going anywhere. It seems like they will be part of any kind of major relief bill that we see. Finally, the president talked about the $105 billion in funding for schools as a part of the next relief package. Something interesting he mentioned was his opinion that if the funding doesn't go to schools, it should go to parents to choose a school, and that if schools stay closed, the money should follow the students. So this is another interesting concept that I've yet to hear anywhere else. It does actually make some sense that if there are very few education options for kids in the fall, there may be a need for some kind of schooling grants for the kids to find an alternate solution. So maybe school funding will be attached to the number of students, and those students could potentially take that money individually and go to a different school. There's some potentially interesting options and concepts there which we haven't really explored or heard much about. So I'm going to be interested to see if those are things that we hear more about in the future. All right, now let's go back to the bummer of the topic of enhanced unemployment. I'm going to present both sides of the arguments here, that way you can form an opinion on which side you think is more right. So White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, he blamed Democrats today for playing politics and not giving any way for negotiations on a smaller or shorter term stimulus bill. Basically what happened was we were in this tight time crunch and Republicans said, fine, let's do a small bill including the things we agree most on, or just extend unemployment for a few weeks at a lower dollar amount. That way we can make sure there's no lapse in coverage and we can have more time to reach an agreement. That part seems reasonable. Give ourselves a little bit more time to reach agreement, and that way people won't go a week or two without funding. I mean, we might see something where once unemployment is actually extended, there's back pay, but that doesn't really help people who need money right now. And then on the Democratic side, Democrats basically just said no. They said, we've had this stimulus bill called the HEROES Act for months, which you haven't even voted on, and we aren't even close to reaching agreement, and it would just be pointless to extend things for a week if we're just going to be in the same spot again next week. So to look at both sides, it seems no one is completely innocent here. Again, you can make your own judgments on who you agree with more, but the worst part for me is just the games. You know, I'd rather hear a no, you're not going to get more help, than this up and down, maybe you'll get support, maybe you won't, back and forth. I would rather get a definite if I was on unemployment. This reminds me of like someone who texts their crush and then gets no response, and then their mind is racing and thinking, oh, maybe she likes me, maybe she hates me, maybe her dog ate her phone. Oh yeah, that's why I'm not getting a response. Her dog ate her phone. Yeah, that's gotta be it. What I'm trying to say is the government is ghosting us. So maybe that's a horrible analogy, but hopefully you kind of get what I'm getting at here. So anyways, going back, we have no resolution on either side and time is running out. You might be thinking, well, we still have the rest of today where something could happen, right? I mean, it doesn't expire until midnight today. Well, the answer is nope. The Senate has packed up and left for the weekend. They're done until Monday. The Senate basically said, we're so far off from a resolution, it's not even worth it. So unemployment is going to expire tonight. So the next question is, what will happen next? Here's where there are even more concerns, to be completely honest. The House is set to start a month-long recess on Monday. However, they have said that they're willing to delay that recess if it means getting a package passed, so that's not as much of an issue. However, then the Senate is in town all week next week, but then they have another recess starting on the following Monday. So that makes next week really the only option to get an entire bill negotiated, written, passed in the Senate, passed in the House, and approved by the President, all within 5 days. I don't know at this point. We haven't been able to do it in 3 months. 5 days? When we're so far off, I just don't see how that will be possible without delaying a recess, which the Republican Senate says they are not willing to do. Maybe they'll budge on that and give themselves another week to work on it, then it'd be a little bit more promising. But 5 days right now, that seems like a second in the grand scheme of getting these relief bills passed. So we really don't want to see another situation where the Senate waits until after the next recess to pass a bill. Their next recess goes from August 10th, which is really more like August 8th because the 10th is a Monday, all the way to September 10th. It's a long time that we would potentially have to wait if they did go on that recess and there was no bill passed before that. I really just hope that anyone out there who is struggling and in need is able to find some kind of support in these crazy times if they're not finding support to unemployment or whatever they're banking on right now. And I really hope that we start seeing some positive news and a whole lot of action next week so I can report some great news and hopefully the people in need just get some relief. That's really all I hope for. So I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a profitable day.